The Houston Texans are sitting on a knife edge, and the league is acting like it is normal. Everybody is staring at mock drafts and highlight clips, but the real story is hidden in plain sight. The contract clock is tightening around C.J. Stroud and Will Anderson Jr., and one wrong decision turns a rising team into a team that stays almost good forever. What nobody is talking about is how fast this window closes once the money hits, and how little room you get for mistakes after that. This roster already has the parts people beg for. You have a quarterback with real calm, you have a pass rush that changes games, you have weapons like Nico Collins and Tank Dell who scare defenses when the timing is right. But here's the twist. The Texans do not need a miracle. They need one clean chain of choices that removes the one thing that keeps killing playoff runs: ugly offense when the pressure spikes. When the hits start piling up, every throw feels rushed, every drive feels short, and the whole season starts to depend on hope instead of control. The shocking part is, Houston already built the side of the ball that drags you through January. With Will Anderson Jr. on one edge and Danielle Hunter on the other, the Texans already play like a team that expects to win late, not a team that hopes. That is why this feels urgent, because if the defense is already this strong, then the offense has no excuse left to hide behind. And once you see what this defense is becoming, you will understand why the Texans are about to enter a season where one more step is not a dream, it is a demand. But before we get into that, hit that like and subscribe button for more Texans and all the NFL content. Let's aim for 500 likes on this video. The Texans defense is not a nice story anymore. It is a weekly problem the league has to solve. You feel it early in games. Quarterbacks stop looking comfortable. Coordinators stop taking chances. And the whole field starts to look smaller. DeMeco Ryans built a unit that plays fast without playing reckless. They hit with purpose. They close space, like it is personal, and they do it without begging for chaos. What nobody is ready for is how this defense can take over a season, even when the offense is not perfect. The scary part is, it is not just one star carrying the whole weight. It is depth, bodies, fresh legs, and a rotation that keeps pressure alive deep into the fourth quarter. Additions like Reed Blankenship, Logan Hall, and Dominique Robinson matter because they turn good drives into long drives and long drives into mistakes. That is when the crowd gets loud. That is when the sideline starts believing. That is when the opponent starts thinking about the next hit instead of the next throw. But here's the tension. This kind of defense does not ask for miracles. It asks for help. It gives you stops. It gives you field position. It gives you extra chances. And it keeps you in every game, even when things get messy. So if Houston is still falling short when the season gets heavy, the problem is not effort. It is something else. Something on the other side of the ball that keeps turning clean chances into empty drives. And once we talk about why that happens, you will see the real reason this team has been stuck just short of the final step. The Texans are not stuck because the talent is missing. They are stuck because the offense has had too many moments where it looks unsure of itself. When a team knows what it wants, you see it in the first 10 plays. The pace feels clean. The calls feel connected. The quarterback plays with quiet control. With C.J. Stroud, the ceiling is obvious, but the path to that ceiling depends on one thing most fans ignore: the details before the ball is even snapped. Here's what people miss. A quarterback does not only learn from touchdowns, he learns from patterns. When protections change late, when routes take too long to develop, when answers are not built into the play, the quarterback starts living in survival decisions. That is how timing disappears without anyone noticing. That is why Houston moved on from Bobby Slowick, because the margin is thin at this level, and the offense needs to make life easier, not harder. Now the pressure is on Nick Caley to turn the offense into something steady, something that looks the same in September and January, something C.J. Stroud can trust without thinking twice. And this is where the story gets sharp, because we have seen this movie before. A team can look close for years, then one off season snaps the whole thing into place if the trenches and the plan finally match. The Texans do not need to become perfect. They need to become stable. And once that happens, the rest of the roster starts playing faster without forcing it. So, let's talk about the blueprint. The example that proves how fast a contender can flip the switch when the offensive line gets fixed the right way. The Texans are not the first team to sit this close to the edge, and the clearest warning came from Seattle. One season, things looked shaky. The next season, the offense looked calm, clean, and in control. Sam Darnold did not turn into a different human overnight. The moment it flipped was when Seattle stopped treating the offensive line like a background issue and treated it like the main story. Then the results got loud. A Super Bowl win, and a score that still looks unreal when you say it out loud, 29-13. The catch is, this did not happen because of one miracle throw or one lucky bounce. It happened because the line stopped leaking, the quarterback stopped playing rushed. The run game stopped feeling like a fight for 1 yard. When you add a talent like Gray Zabel and you actually build the room around him, the entire offense starts breathing again. And the defense gets to play with freedom instead of pressure. That is what people forget. A great defense becomes deadly when it knows the offense will not hand the game away. Now bring it back to Houston, because this is the part that should make you uncomfortable if you are a fan. The Texans already have the hard parts, the stars, the belief, the edge on defense, the weapons outside. So if they want the same kind of jump, they cannot treat the line like a small patch job. They need a real plan, real depth, and one clear answer in the middle of the pocket. Because the next step is not about hype anymore. It is about building an offense that stays steady when everything gets loud. The Texans do not need a loud move right now. They need a clean one. The middle of the pocket still feels too fragile, and when the pocket breaks from the inside, everything gets rushed at once. Throws speed up, runs get stuffed before they start, and the offense turns into a series of quick exits instead of long drives. This is why the center spot is not a small need. It is the one gap that can poison a whole season if it stays unresolved. There is already a base to build on, but it needs insurance and it needs a real plan. Braden Smith can be a difference maker if he stays on the field, but the risk is obvious. And Houston cannot let one health swing decide the year. Wyatt Teller gives you real power. Ed Ingram gives you a stable body. And stability matters more than fans admit, because it lets a quarterback stay calm on third down. Now you finish it. You draft a real center like Logan Jones. You add another tackle who can grow behind Braden Smith. And you treat depth like a weapon, not like a backup plan. The twist is this. The best move might not be the flashiest name. It might be the chain of small choices that keeps the offense clean every week. Houston has enough picks to hunt solutions instead of hoping one falls into their lap, and that changes everything. Because once the line stops leaking, the draft stops being about dreams and starts being about value, hidden players, quiet picks that turn into starters. That is where this story goes next. To the targets rising behind closed doors, okay? And the sleeper names that could end up being the real reason the Texans finally jump. The Texans draft talk is getting loud, and most of it is noise. Every fan sees the same big names, the same highlight clips, the same safe picks. But inside the building, the real wins come from players nobody is arguing about yet. The kind of picks that feel boring on draft night, then show up in October, and suddenly the whole team looks tougher. This is where Houston can steal the next season, not with a headline, but with smart value that stacks week after week. A sleeper is not some random late name. It is a player with a clear role and a real path to snaps. It might be a lineman like Josh Jeske, who gives you strong depth and grows into more. Or a tackle like Demetrius Crownover, who can develop behind veterans and still save your season if injuries hit. It might be a receiver like Elijah Surratt or Omar Cooper Jr., who does not need to be a superstar on day one. He just needs to win the right routes at the right time. It might be a back like Adam Randall or Kalen Black, who adds fresh legs without forcing the offense to change its whole identity. Or tight ends like Joe Royer, Miles Kitzelman, and Riley Nowakowski, who do the dirty work that keeps drives alive. And here's the pressure point. The Texans have enough picks to take more than one swing, which means they can build depth without panic. That matters because the best teams do not survive on starters alone. They survive on the 6th and 7th man staying ready. Now flip the lens, because while the offense hunts quiet value, Houston still has one more mission. Keep the defense fed with fresh bodies so the pass rush never runs out of gas when the season turns cold. The Texans are in a dangerous spot for the rest of the league because their defense is already good enough to scare people, and they still are not done feeding it. This is not about chasing one more headline name. This is about making sure Will Anderson Jr. and Danielle Hunter do not have to carry every heavy snap by themselves when the season gets tight. The smart teams know the truth. Pass rush dies when the bodies get tired. And Houston looks like a team that understands that before everyone else does. That is why names like Caden McDonald and Zion Young matter. Zion. Because one can bring force inside and the other brings edge juice that keeps the whole front violent for 4 quarters. The twist is that Houston is not only thinking about the line, they are also looking at defenders who let the whole unit stay flexible when games turn messy. Jalen Kilgore brings that hybrid style where he can move around and still play with power, while Keontae Scott gives you another defender who can wear more than one hat in the secondary. That kind of depth changes how a defense calls games. It gives D'Amico Ryans more freedom on 3rd down, more disguise before the snap, and more answers when an offense starts hunting weak spots. And this is where it gets serious, because when a contender starts drafting for freshness instead of desperation, it means the foundation is already in place. Houston is no longer trying to patch holes just to survive. Houston is trying to build a defense that still looks fast in January when everyone else is dragging. But if the defense is already this loaded, then the final question gets even bigger. What happens if the Texans decide to make one bold swing on top of all this? One move around the draft, the cap, or the trade market that changes the whole ceiling of the team? The Texans are entering the part of team building where one smart move can change the whole future, and one soft move can waste it. The 5th-year options for C.J. Stroud and Will Anderson Jr. are already in place, which means the front office knows exactly where the clock is now. Stroud is set to make $25.904 million in 2027, and Anderson Jr. is set to make $21.512 million that same year. That does not kill the window, it sharpens it. It tells Houston this is the moment to stack the roster while the core is still in reach, before every decision starts costing more than it does now. And then comes the part that can shake a whole draft week, the trade market. Dexter Lawrence has requested a trade from the Giants, and that is the kind of name that makes every serious front office stop and think for a second. Not because Houston is desperate, they are not. Because when a team this close gets a chance to add a force like that, the question changes fast. It stops being, should we make a splash? And becomes, can the rest of the conference handle it if we do? Reports say the Giants are not actively shopping Lawrence, but they are open to offers, which is enough to keep this story alive. So this is the truth of the Texans right now. They are not chasing respect anymore. They are deciding how aggressive they want to be with a real opening in front of them. The draft can help. The line can help. Depth can help. But the shocking part is the leap might come from one cold-blooded decision that tells the whole league Houston is done building slowly. And once a team reaches that point, the next season stops feeling like a test. It starts feeling like a threat.